Hey everybody, Jamie Starr here for the New World News Network, and on today's video, I'm sure if you are a fan of my channel, you've seen in the past where I've criticized Stefan Molyneux's views on capital S science or scientism, basically the religion of science, and I point to his sort of appeal to authority fallacies, appeal to the experts, it's very interesting to me. People who are libertarians, who are very anti-government, will then, trust every word out of NASA's mouth, about like space travel and stuff, even though we've never done it since and all this other stuff. And, certain aspects of their philosophy and all this stuff that, like Darwinism, for example, like basically anything that involves millions and billions, whether it's millions and billions of light years away or millions and billions of years in the past, there was a big bang. I get very skeptical about, and I get very troubled by these skeptics who have selective skepticism. But there's this YouTuber, this adorable little doe-eyed fellow here, Cosmic Skeptic, who I saw do an interview with Douglas Murray, and I thought he was great at doing interviews. And if I had to offer him a critique or a criticism, I would say lean into that and definitely stop wasting your time with this mental masturbation parading itself as philosophy. So we're going to get into that in his video here, Compatibilism Debunked, Free Will and Determination. So he's mentally masturbated himself into believing there's no free will. And, I have general criticisms of a lot of these new atheist philosophers, but if I had to sum it up in a nutshell, my beef with them is the fact that, and the reason I call it mental masturbation, is that they do this routine of basically, philosophizing. I don't know what the verb form of that word would be, but basically they just sit around talking and thinking so deeply about, and basically at the root of it is their objective is, how can we rationalize having a Christian society without Christ? And that's the name of their game, basically, is, well, let's remove the religious components and then somehow justify how we can have a society that will still function as a Christian society, because they only see the downside instead of seeing the upside. And really, I don't think they realize how much of this actually encourages people to lean into Christianity. I mean, I was about to say Calvin Harris. What's that guy's name? Sam Harris, for example, and he is a great example. Privileged as all hell. Like, he is the son of the creator of the Golden Girls, so he's never had to worry about anything in his life. And he went on for years about how, religion is bad and why would God allow babies to die, and all of these really weak arguments. And then again, doing this whole routine of trying to justify having a Christian society while we remove Christ from it, and how that's philosophically achievable and all of this other stuff. And I mean, we haven't ever seen it legitimately in reality, really. Most of the societies people want to live in have a Western Christian underpinning to them. Most of the societies where they revolt against religion tend to end up very terribly. And but then what does he go and do? Oh, well, he goes and spends months at some silent monk retreat for his, newfound spirituality. So it's like, even he has to be like, oh, well, I'm an atheist, but what my spiritual practices aren't religious practices. And it's all of this, I'm in, but I'm out, but I'm in, but I'm out. And none of it really, why I say mental masturbation, because they get to project the idea that they're such deep thinkers when really it's nonsense, and there's a simpler solution to live a better life by all the data and the science and the actual metrics. Again, the things these people claim to be champions of, science and data and research, tend to lean towards like religious societies being more cohesive. Religious people tend to be more charitable and everything. I mean, you can make a argument that it is better to have a religious society without making a religious argument. You can make that argument just based off the science and data. But there's also, so the guy we're talking about here, Cosmic Skeptic, I wanted to bring up his channel, but I forgot. So I do apologize to him if in any way I misrepresent him, because I haven't delved in too much. I've seen a handful of his videos, but I see there are debates on veganism and all this other stuff. And you know, you recently had a couple who faced charges, I want to say in Australia, I could be wrong about that, a couple that faced charges because their child was so malnourished and developmentally stunted and such because of this vegan diet being imposed on them. And again, we can, oh, is it ethical or not to eat animals? Well, how about your body needs it? How about you stop playing with yourself mentally and all this other stuff, and just realize evolutionary biology, we've evolved from eating these things. So just thinking you can say, oh, well, I'm above, you know, the order of things, and I can just remove myself from these processes that have been developed over thousands of years, and thinking you're above it all of a sudden, it's not going to work out too well for you. So your ethics and all this mental masturbation stuff gets you with charges for malnourishing a child because of your ethics or whatever. So anyway, I'm going to show you here peak mental masturbation. I mean, I watched this video last night. I went into it with an open mind. Again, I think this kid has a lot of potential, but at one point my jaw hit the floor and I just said, what the fuck? What is the point of this? What is the point of this? And then I realized it's just to, it's the reason I say it's mental masturbation, because it's like, what are you doing when you're masturbating? You are, in a guy sense, you're jerking off, you're doing this motion until you feel it building up into an orgasmic sense of enjoyment. And then by the end of it, your load is blown and there's nothing left, and you're just sitting back there and nothing's changed. And that's what a lot of this philosophy shit is it is people like, I look at Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris. Well, what is truth? Do we mean real truth? Do we mean not real truth, and scientific truth, and this kind of truth, and that kind of, and I mean, that's what people saw in that interview, where they said, oh my God, it was like 2 hours of them just going in circles and going, no, yeah, mentally masturbating. Nothing came of it. So here, let's get into this clip here.
The liberty of subjects says the following: liberty or freedom signifieth properly the absence of opposition. By opposition I mean external impediments of motion. That is to say, so long as whatever you want to do is not impeded by some external constraint, you are free. That's it. So if you will to drive
that, okay, so as long as you want to do something and there's no impediment on you wanting to do it, you are free to do it. I would think that is something that most people in a general sense believe. That is what most people experience as their reality. I want a glass of water. I am free to go into the other room and get a glass of water. That's as simple as that. I want to make music. There's nothing impeding me making music. I will make music. Keep it simple, right? Simple, stupid. Everyone gets that, right? So now we're going to get into the mental masturbation of it all, how it's not that simple. So
your car and do so, you acted freely, so long as whatever caused you to do so is internally determined and not subject to either compulsion or constraint by any external factors, such as your car breaking down or something. Thus, says Hobbes, a free man is he that in those things which by his strength and wit he is able to do, is not hindered to do what he has a will to. So free will, according to this compatibilist, can be defined simply as the ability to do what you want to do. This seems plausible at first, right? If you can do whatever you want, you're a free being. But there's a problem with this.
So here's where we get into the mental masturbation, where things can't just be that simple. So
The problem I'm thinking of was highlighted well by the pessimist philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, who pointed out that
let's just, in a general sense, this is, you know, Jamie's tidbits for life. Don't take advice from people who are pessimists. I mean, this is like, philosophy is what we have: pessimist philosophers, nihilism. I mean, oh, this is gonna end up real great, like real great. I mean, this is again another one of my beefs with these atheist people, and even friends of mine who would be like, the church is an oppressive state and it's holding people down and indoctrinating them with, you know, the fear of God and all of this other stuff. And then I look at them and I say, okay, I understand the church is corrupt and all, you know, your legitimate criticisms about the institution and everything. I get that. But to a 70-year-old woman undergoing cancer treatment, if her faith in a God and an afterlife and there being more beyond the meat suit gets her through, say, a cancer treatment or something like that, how can you argue against that? Now, and maybe it seems like I'm making some sort of anecdotal leftist appeal to emotion or something, but in the reality of the situation, like, I see faith in more getting people through tough times more than people who just think this is it. And this is again how delving into all of this philosophy and nihilism and really just darkness, you know, it's darkness in a veneer of intellectualism, really brought me back to faith. So let's get to the pessimism, guys.
Yeah, sure, you can do whatever you will, but you can't will what you will, right? I mean, imagine that you wanted to save money, and so you put some funds into a bank account. According to Hobbes, so long as nothing external to you was compelling you or restricting you, you acted totally freely in depositing the money. But did you choose to want to save that money? Could you, if you so pleased, choose to want to waste the money instead?
Yes, you could. I know people that do. I have friends in the hood that as soon as they get money, it's their impulse to spend money because you don't know if tomorrow is guaranteed or not. There are people that are very short-sighted like that. If you know, if I had a terminal illness, I would want to waste money. I know people that when their parents died, they had to empty accounts, and because they couldn't then just, you know, extract X amount of dollars and then deposit it and all this other stuff, and we're trying to do it without the legal system, you know, of bank laws and all this other stuff getting in the way, they would just spend money, waste money. Yeah, you can want to waste money, but do you already see where this is getting into this sort of nonsense and circular thinking of, well, if you will to do things, but did you want to will it? I mean, what the fuck? So it gets even worse.
And that's not the same thing as simply choosing to waste it. Could you choose to want to waste it? I certainly can't choose to want to waste my own money. And even if you could choose to want it...
Why can't you?
Crucially, in order to do so, you would need to want to do it. And
you would need to want to do it, instead of just wanting to do it. I mean, this is... this is why I say peak mental masturbation, because what the fuck are you saying? You have to want to waste it. What?
And if you could control that want, you'd need to want it, and so on forever.
Want it. I mean, what the fuck? I really hope by doing this video that I'm not illustrating myself as a moron, because most people don't think I am, and I certainly don't think I am, but I don't understand what's being said here, and I will be I'm open to someone enlightening me. But when you're saying things like, you have to want to waste it, or you have to want it. What? What sort of insanity is this? And what benefit to anyone's life does this yield? Where is the fruitfulness of sitting around saying, yes, but does someone want to do whatever? I mean, this is Sam Harris again, back to him. This is why it's like, these are the ideas espoused by peak privilege. And I'm not talking, racial privilege, I'm just talking about privileged people. Like, the fact that people have the time to even entertain this garbage shows the world's a great place, because I don't think anyone in Africa, where you have to worry about where your next meal is coming from, is like, but do I want to kill the antelope and eat it for my next meal? Is it ethical? Should I want to eat?
Schopenhauer's point is that the ability to do whatever you want can hardly be called freedom if you can't freely choose what it is that you want. And Schopenhauer illustrates this with an example.
What?
He says that as well as the material external constraints and impediments that Hobbes mentions, sometimes our actions are restricted by what Schopenhauer calls moral constraints. And he gives the example of a threat. Okay, say someone threatens you with assault, saying that if you commit action X, they'll beat you up, and that this compels you to not commit action X.
Okay, well, all of that is very obvious. Again, someone threatening you is obviously, as the other person said, someone infringing and all this other stuff. But then back to what I was saying about what does this yield? Why complicate things? One of the other videos from this guy who keeps popping up in my timeline, and hey, if you end up seeing this video and this criticism, let's do a chat. I understand my channel doesn't appear that big anymore. I have like 2,000-3,000 subs, yet my videos only get like 25 something views. YouTube has basically sent me to the Phantom Zone. They did that when Paul and I were just browsing through all the WikiLeaks and all that back in 2016, and even last week I was demonetized by another layer. They've just been slowly demonetizing things. So, but I'm open to talk. I'm open for trying to have this stuff explained to me. But if you come at me with a sentence like want to whatever, I'm just gonna say, what the fuck? Like, I would like it if we used like proper English, correct English, and just spoke in a simple sense. And back to what I was saying about complicating things, and this is again why these topics and this stuff makes me lean into here. I feel bad for this guy.
Did you make this choice
let's
freely?
Again, frozen at a more flattering image. There's videos of him being like, Muhammad had sex or married a 16-year-old girl or 6-year-old girl or whatever. Is it ethical? What? Why do you have to? Why would that even be asked? I mean, this is again where this philosophy stuff just gets into sheer madness, because there's a simpler way of going about things. And again, I'm not saying you need to be some sort of puritanical Bible thumper, but for heaven's sake, I would much, much rather just be like, there's a divine order, here's how you see the divine order, you are a creator, you are made in the image of the creator, rather than this, oh, well, here are some bones, let me tell you a fairy tale about a bunch of shit that no one's ever witnessed with their eyes, but our science people, think that you mutated from a monkey to a monkey man and eventually to a man, and we're just monkeys, like Joe Rogan and all this stuff. It's so demeaning to everything humans have accomplished to be like, oh, our monkey brains took us to outer space. Like, first off, I don't even believe that we've been to outer space, but our monkey brains got us to outer space. That these people have this worldview that is so depressing and so dark And then I just continually look to them and watch these debates, and I'm like, who does this appeal to? I mean, it appealed to me at one point in time, but I was in a dark place. I was really depressed. And I mean, I had this essentially intellectual reinforcement that there is no more than the meat suit. We are just atoms and cells just, you know, mutating and smashing against each other. And, you know, there's no meaning to anything. And then you have other people saying, well, no, actually, there is meaning to things. Actually, things are very simple. There's actually an order to all of it. And all these people are just like, want to, nothing. Everything is nothing. It's all meaningless. But the ethics and the arguments of the ethics of animal eating and raping children and all nonsense, pure nonsense. So that's my little tear on this. I don't want to just drag on forever, so I'm gonna end it here. But I mean, I went into this being like, oh, compatibilism, what is this about? No free will. And then I heard, do you want something? And I said, fuck this. What the fuck? This is insanity. And the fact that this is like peak intellectual, philosophical, whatever, I mean, it's like I said, it makes people reject this stuff, where people are like, what does that mean? I don't have time for this. I got bills to pay. I'm not privileged enough to sit around and ponder the wants. Like, sorry. So, I extend the offer. If you want to try to explain it to me, and more so even explain what the benefit of sitting around thinking about this stuff is, I'm all for hearing you out. You want to do a reply video? You want to do an interview? Fine with whatever. Again, I thought your Douglas Murray interview was great, but I can only see bad things coming from this. All of this whatever the word is, all of this philosophy talk, I only ever see sad, dark, bad things coming from it. And it's why you have philosophies such as nihilism and all of this other stuff. I don't ever see anything of wonder coming from it. And I mean, again, you have, you know, again, even Joe Rogan said this because he was talking about simulation theory, where now you have these scientists that have taken the ass backwards way around to get back to, oh no, well, there's a creator, programmer, and, you know, it's basically everything the Bible says, but we reject the Bible, but we have our own texts that just happen to be coinciding with the Bible. It's the, let's have a Christian worldview while removing Christ from it, and why? What's the point? To make things endlessly more complicated? Like, it's, someone explain it to me, please, in the comments. Hit me up on social media at Jamie Star, at Jamie Star Music. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and take care and have a good one, everyone.